What's up, everyone? This is Tim. Come back at you with some yes, nos, maybes, and so's for NXT of July 13th. Few days late, but stuff happened, and I also procrastinated. But coming at you a couple days later, but hey, better late than never, right? so, um, doing yes, nos, maybe, or so's. Yes means it was really good. No means it was really bad. Maybe it means like there's stuff there that could work. And then so's are just it happened and nothing did anything for anyone. Yeah. So I go through every segment, every match and segment, and give it a yes, no, maybe, or so. So here it is for NXT from July 13th. We start off with Ember Moon versus Dakota Kai. I was curious what was going to happen because Shotzi Blackheart was on SmackDown and they were tag team with Ember Moon, and they kind of just said, "Oh, by the way, like Shotzi's on SmackDown now." I felt like it was kind of like could have been more, I guess. It could have been more, like made a bigger deal, or like they had like a farewell match or something. But yeah, it just kind of was like, oh, yeah, that happened. But in the actual match, Ember Moon, this was a really cool spot. Ember Moon hit a suicide dive under the Dakota Kai on the outside into the plexiglass, and then Ember Moon was getting hyped up, and then Kai Lu just pushed her into the apron. So that was kind of cool to see an immediate backlash of a move, or counter of a move. Guy hits a weird crossroads Sister Abigail type move, but she like had her and then she like went with her. She didn't like go around her body like the other moves do. She had like Ember's head on her left, and then she went. It was kind of weird, but Moon kicks out. She also kicked out of a drop kick or hits a drop kick on the top rope. Hits a top rope Hurricanrana. Dakota Kai hits kick off the rope, and then so she hit. So Ember Moon was going for something with the ropes. Dakota Kai picked her up off the ropes, like in the fireman's carry, hit her Kai kick, finished her move. But it was in the corner, so I thought Moon's feet were going to be on the rope, and they never were. And then Kai's legs were under the ropes, like almost up to her knee. So it was an illegal pin, but it was the finish. So it was kind of like, did Kai mess up? Did Moon mess up? Did the ref go with it, which is what the ref should do, right? But it was an illegal pin. Gets a yes. It was a solid match. Kind of shown like, hey, Kai can also be good along with Raquel Gonzalez. Like they're not like sidekicks. Like Kai can hold her own as well. Then Xia Li comes out of nowhere. It just goes straight up to Raquel and goes, "Hey, I want you." Like crosses Dakota Kai and just says, "Hey, I want to challenge you." And Raquel's like, "Okay." That gets a no because there's literally no build. Like, why doesn't everybody do this? Just come out and say, "Hey, I want to challenge you," and then they're like, "Yeah," and then like next week, good to go. Like, why doesn't that happen literally all the time? Right? So that gets a that part gets a no because Xia just walked out. Like there wasn't even a fight or a brawl or like Raquel was like, "Well, beat Kai first and then talk to me," or pad your resume a little bit. Like it was just like, "Yeah, okay, okay, hey, let's fight. Okay, cool." Like. We cut backstage. We cut backstage to Malcolm Bivens, and the Diamond Mine interview says he wants an open challenge, saying Diamond Mine is open for anything. Bobby Fish interrupts, eyes up Roderick Strong. Tyler Rust accepts the challenge. Malcolm Bivens like, "Yeah, challenge accepted. You're gonna face Tyler Rust, not Roderick Strong." So that happens later in the night. I mean, it was brief. Like nothing really happened. I do like Malcolm Bivens as a manager, but we'll see. I'll grade that at the end. But yeah, Akeeman promo. I think that's how Genjo Akeeman. Hold on, I have his name somewhere else. Akeeman Jiro, and his name's backwards. Little brief promo. He just excited and positive, and he has this crazy jacket, and they show some 205 live clip. So, it's what it needed to do. Just be like, "Hey, here's this guy. Like he has a match later." So I'm not gonna give it a grade because it was like 30 seconds, but it just like it just kind of showed that he was very excited and very positive and willing to do whatever it takes. Very you know. So Then we get into Cameron Grimes. The first segment, I'm going to get all these segments together because I think there was a total of 3 of them. Cameron Grimes is LA Knight's butler. He enters the door. Cameron Grimes is like, look, I lost, but, I'm going to be your butler and I'm going to go to the broom. And LA Knight's just like, don't want to deal with this right now. Like, he gets dressed up, slightly made over. I thought they were going to do like a full haircut. They just kind of trimmed the beard and slicked his hair back. They didn't really do much. But he gets dressed and he's in like a full on like butler outfit, white gloves, like tie, tails, and he's actually excited because he's like, man, I look good. And I'm like, no, you don't look good. You're embarrassing. He's like, no, I look good. So you kind of see where this is going where, Cameron Grimes is just going to be so positive about it that it's going to bother LA Knight. So that's the first one. They didn't get to anything besides the slightly makeover. Then we get into Tyler Rust versus Bobby Fish. There's a lot of back and forth technical stuff. Roderick Strong ends up distracting on the apron, so Bobby Fish stares him down. It happened once, but then it happened a second time, and that's what caught Bobby Fish. Rust wins with interference, but he also wins with just like a kick to the head. That's it. Not even like a strong kick to the head. He just literally just kicked him in the head. He gets a no because it didn't do much at all. Like, Russ didn't get in a lot of big moves, and it's also like, look, if I want this stable to be good, I want everybody to look good, and Russ didn't look good. And it almost looks like Strong is the leader and not Bivens, and yeah, we need to build these guys up, but and Russ is also kind of boring. But it gets a no. It didn't do anything for me. Then up circle Fish because Fish is still on the ground. Kushida comes out, makes his save. He has his cruiserweight belt in hand, and he threatens everyone, and they all run away. So obviously, we're gonna get into that. See if there's a Strong versus Kushida match coming up later on down the road, or if they get 2 more guys involved. Even the odds. Or 1 more guy, but. Backstage with Joe and Cross. Cross is hitting his bag a little bit, and Joe comes in. He goes, "Mr. Cross, I am your referee tonight. Just some ground rules, 2 major rules. Protect yourself at all times, and listen to me." And he doesn't respond. Cross keeps working, and he's like, "Do you understand?" And Cross keeps hitting. And then Joe literally steps in front of the bag and goes, "Do you understand?" And Cross is like, "Yeah, I understand." I mean, this will come back with Johnny Gargano as well. This segment, it gets a yes just because it definitely shows there's tension, which will lead to the main event. But it was short, but it did what it needed to do. They don't like each other, but they're reffing, and Joe's claiming he's going to be right down the middle, and Cross is kind of like, are you going to be right down the middle? So it did what it needed to do. Then Beth Phoenix starts, so they showed the way as a group coming in, all 4 of them coming in, and then Beth Phoenix stops Indy Hartwell and basically says, hey, take a chance on Dexter Lumis, and she's like, oh, all right. We'll get into that later. It was super short. We'll get into that later. And then it was Gigi Dolan versus Saray. So Gigi Dolan was Priscilla Kelly on the Indies, so some people might recognize her there. This was a back and forth, and then Mandy Rose just appears on the ramp. No music. She's dressed a lot differently than she had been on Raw. She has a pink top and a jacket and almost like a pantsuit, but not really. Almost like what Frankie Valet wears, kind of these nicer outfits. So, see where that goes. There's a hard drop kick on the bottom rope, and Saray wins. Saray hit her Gigi was on the bottom rope with her arms out, and Saray drop kick her. It looked violent. And then Saray wins. This one gets a maybe because there were a lot of spots where it looked like they were going through the motions and not wrestling, if that makes sense. At one point, Saray had Dolan in the middle of the ring in a pin, and Dolan, clearly says something to her, and then she just lets go. I'm just like, why would you let go? Like counter out of it, or do something. They'll just like let go of a submission in the middle of the ring. That's just stupid. But choppy transitions again. Mandy with Frankie Monet, maybe not Valet Monet. I said Valley, Valet Monet. I got confused between Frankie Valley and Frankie Monet. I combined their names. I apologize. Frankie Monet, because they do look very similarly dressed. And Mandy Rose didn't do anything. She went out and just went, all right, and walked backstage. Like, so. Then we get a Legado del Fantasma promo. He calls out Swerve and Hit Row and basically says, like, hey, I did want to beat up Bronson Reed, but you took North American title belt, so I'm just gonna go after you instead. And then he's gonna beat Loomis later in the night, and then get to you guys. So this gets a yes again for what it is. It was a promo that worked. That just said, okay, we're setting up a new rivalry, and it wasn't bad. It was a solid promo. It's short and it is what it is, so it gets a yes. Then we get to a Duke Hudson promo. He is my pick to win it all. Basically arrogant, cocky. Dude, that's massive back and shoulders. Like, holy crap, he is. But he also has kind of a small head. I think it's kind of funny. He has like a very like lean face, like high cheekbones and lean and the slight beard. And then his shoulders are like huge and his chest is huge, so it's just kind of funny seeing his body type, but I do think he's going to win it all. But again, it was short, just like the other promo. It was short, just kind of, he's just like, I'm cocky, I'm good, and I know it. And so just kind of got across what he needs to get across. We get into Dexter Lumis versus Santos Escobar. Dexter gets the upper hand, and Escobar tries to get him. Dexter's doing all the creepy stuff. He's like staring at him. He's like barely selling. He does that little like crawl thing to freak him out. He goes on so he's by the announce table. Loomis is by the announce table. Escobar is by the ramp, and then he tells the guys to go get him. Right. So they go inside, and they're like, "Wait, he's not here." And Escobar's like, "What do you mean he's not here? He was just there." Loomis grabs him on the ring, tries to pull him in. Escobar sells it like he's going into hell. Like just like, "Oh no, guys, get it." So he gets him out, pops out from under the ring, creeps him out a little bit. They end up interfering. Because he goes to put in the silence to the edge of the rope, and I think it was Wild pulls him out, and then they like, hey, don't do that, and then Escobar hits his finisher for the win. This gets a it like we get it that Escobar has his friends and they interfere with every match, and I also didn't do much for Dexter either. Like I do want to see Dexter start winning more. Just to show that he can go. He's definitely over. And the whole thing with Indy Hartwell is interesting. It's just like I'd rather not see him in a match, and I'd rather not see him in a match that doesn't do anything. Like he didn't win, so he doesn't look good. It didn't like it was by the numbers that they interfered again. Oh no, so Hero appears on the ramp and them and Legado del Fantasma face off. They go a little like trash talk back and forth, but nothing major. Just this is gonna be the next feud, kind of just let's stare down. You called me out, I'm gonna call you out. Blah, 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 blah. So then we get to a Kyle O'Reilly interview with Wade Barrett. Kyle O'Reilly says he needs to get his groove back and not only beat Cole but finish Cole. So obviously we're gonna have a third in the trilogy. I really hope it's Hell in a Cell. I really hope they do their first ever Hell in a Cell match with those two guys. I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be awesome. But yeah, it was like a couple minutes interview, and Cole just said, "Hey, I'm down, but I'm not out." And so then we get to the Butler part 2. Knight has Grimes mow the lawn with an old fashioned push mower. Right? He walks out to the yard, and Grimes is like, "I'm going to use this tractor, no big deal." And he's like, "No, you're not going to use the tractor. You're going to use this." And it's a push mower, with the blades, not even like an old fashioned in the 50s. Lawnmower, and he's like, I used to do this all the time at my farm. But he like starts in the middle. Okay, I mowed my dad's lawn a lot. Like basically, as soon as I was like 13 or 14, I started mowing the lawn, and I always started at the corner, and I'd go, and I do everything. He starts right in the middle, and then he drives up the middle, and then he just like curves out. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, at least start by the edge. Don't just start in the middle of the lawn. Anyway. But so that that happened, and then they fade out. So like I said, there's one more and then I'm gonna grade all of them at the same time. We get to third commercial. Hartwell carries Loomis out of the ring, but falls. He tries to do what he did to her. Carry her out. But then they fall, and she falls on top of her, and tension and sparks are flying, and they go for a kiss. Candice LeRae comes running out, pushes her off, and it's like, no, get off of him. What are you doing? So that storyline is still going, but I do like it. I do think they're going to end up together. But hopefully they don't bring up The Way, because The Way is doing really well right now. But maybe there's maybe Dexter gets in the way. That'd be funny. Not literally, he actually gets in the stable The Way. And then, yeah, so we get into Duke Hudson versus Akeem Jiro. Jiro wrestles in a jacket, which I didn't realize. I saw some highlights of him in the jacket in the ring, but I just thought they were promos or not in ring action. But apparently he just wrestles in his crazy floral jacket. And Duke Hudson is also very little. He has a Speedo in his boots, and that's it. No tape, no braces, no anything else. So yeah, Hudson shows off his power. Jiro shows off his ability. This was a really good match, showing off what both of these guys can do. Jiro hits the tarantula because he was trained by Tajiri, so he hits the tarantula at one point. Hudson wins with a boss man slam. He goes him in the rope side, kind of spins around the side and wins that way. This match gets a yes. They both look good. They show off what they can do. Jiro got his moments in. Hudson got his moments in. Hudson is the cocky, arrogant heel. Jiro is the face, but down but not out. So it was a solid 10-minute match, and it moved Duke Hudson on in the tournament to the quarter or semifinals now, because there's only 8. So yeah, yeah, and like I said, I'm excited for this breakout tournament because 2 years ago, everybody except one, 2 years later is doing pretty well. I'm curious to see how this all goes. We get an interview with Dunn and Lorcan. Dunn says he doesn't care who wins the title match later because he's the best technician in the world and he's going to beat anybody who wins. Then Thatcher shows up and goes, well, which is it? Are you the best technician or the baddest man? And he's just I was just can't he be both? And then Ciampa comes out and gets into a fight with Dunn, and then there's a brawl. This one gets a yes because you kind of needed somewhere for Thatcher and Ciampa to go after losing the tag title match at Great American Bash, and then Dunn is still. I think Dunn is waiting in the wings. I think maybe if they do the SummerSlam takeover, whether it's in Vegas or still in the Capitol Wrestling Center, I do think Dunn will be the next challenger. But I think they need to just kind of keep them warm for a little bit. Build them up a little bit. Not that needs to be built up, but just kind of all right, let's do this. Let's just keep you going, and then we'll bring you in when we need you. Then we get to I put Casey and Casey because it's Kaden Carter and Casey Catanzaro. Towson Girl, Casey Catanzaro, and Jessie Kamea. Casey is quite small. I always forget how small Casey is. We got a 450 neckbreaker for the win. It was a kind of short back and forth match. The match definitely wasn't the story here. It was very short back and forth. And then Casey, so Kaden Carter has in the neckbreaker, Casey does a 450, and they hit the neckbreaker 450 for the win. It's actually a really sick move. This one gets a maybe because maybe they get pushed towards the scene, but it was really short. And like I said, it was really the post-match story that was the main story. So post-match, Robert Stone is helping Aaliyah up. Aaliyah pushes him off, beats him up a little bit, right? Finally gets over with the crowd, tells Jessie Kamea, see you later, I'm out of here. She kisses to the crowd. So she definitely broke up with the Robert Stone band. The only thing is, apparently she's going to Raw because Mandy Rose is coming to NXT, and they apparently did a trade. So apparently they do trades now. Who would have thought? But it is curious to see what happens with Robert Stone because Frankie Valet shows up, talks to Kamea, and then they all walk out together. And I'm like, oh, is Frankie Monet the new Robert Stone now? Interesting. Samoa Joe talks to The Way backstage, says the same thing he told Gargano or Cross, and Gargano's like, yeah, absolutely, absolutely, yeah. And then maybe after I win, we can all hang out together and we can all be friends. Yeah, and Joe's just like, no. So it was just basically the same thing. So Samoa Joe walks out of the locker room and he walks out of the locker room and runs into none other than Pete Dunne. They just stare down. They just stare down at each other. This is really intriguing to me. I literally have no idea where this is gonna go, but that's a good thing. I don't know if Joe is gonna win the title, which we'll get to. I don't know if Joe's gonna win the title. I don't know if Dunne is gonna challenge Joe for the title after Joe beats Cross. I don't know if Cross is gonna be involved somehow with these two. I don't know if Dunne is gonna go after Cross instead, and Joe will be the referee, and then maybe I don't know. I don't know. But it's good that I don't know. Like then we get to the third part of the Butler. Grimes is chilling by the pool in his Speedo and his gloves on, which I thought was hilarious, like his Butler gloves. LA Knight comes in, he goes, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Like sitting here on your ass? Like get to work." And he's like, "Oh, I'm a millionaire. I just paid a kid to do the work for me." He's like, "Work's getting done." And he pulls the kid in and he tries to pay the kid, but LA Knight slaps the money down. And he's like, "No, like you have to do it. That's the rule. You don't delegate. What is up with you?" And so he asks the kid to leave. Kid hits Knight, in the shin. So he's kind of gone, and then Grimes is like, "Oh, don't worry, I'll clean up that mess for you." So he gets a rake, starts raking up the money from the pool floor, from the pool deck, and then he hits LA Knight into the pool, and Knight's going like, "Hey man, he did that on purpose. What's going on?" So definitely, it's definitely they all get a yes because it's exactly what it is. It's funny. It's not serious. They're not taking itself too seriously. Grimes is getting under the skin of Knight, which hopefully leads to maybe a rematch for the $1 million championship. And Grimes finally wins it, or maybe he realizes like, "Hey, I don't need it. I grew in character and spirit," and he moves on. But then I think maybe 1 or 2 more weeks of this, and then they'll have another match. But it's funny. It's entertaining. It's hilarious. Alright, so we get to a Cole promo, Adam Cole, baby. Cole says his first loss to Kyle O'Reilly doesn't count because it's unsanctioned. Here's my issue with that, and it's not specifically this case. It's every time there's an unsanctioned match, obviously the heel goes, "It was unsanctioned, it doesn't actually count." And WWE and AEW both do this, and I'm sure other promotions do this. The thing that bothers me about unsanctioned matches is that I always viewed it as it counts, but where you just can't you can't hold us responsible for what happens. If you break a leg or you do something, you can't sue us, or you can't. It basically it still counts, but we're just not being held responsible for your actions, type of deal. Kind of like if what's a good analogy? If your parents are like, "Yeah, you can." I don't know where I'm going with this analogy. Basically turning a blind eye. We knew you were going to do this, but we're gonna not say. I don't know. It's just it bothers me that everybody said that. I'm like, no, but the matches do count. You're in the ring with a ref. Yeah, it was unsanctioned, but that just means that it was no holds barred, basically. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but anyway, he calls out Samoa Joe for not doing anything. First, he says he gets on Kyle O'Reilly a little bit, but then he calls to Joe, and he's just like, "Hey, you put me in the clutch, and then you also didn't do anything while Kyle O'Reilly was staring at my knee. So what's going on here?" And it says Joe doesn't scale. Bronson Reed interrupts, which I thought Bronson Reed would be up on the main roster by now or take a few weeks off, but apparently he's still in NXT. And Reed takes Cole out, and Joe comes out and kind of just settles everything. "Hey, calm down." Or he doesn't do that. He just comes out because he's in the main event. So he just kind of stares down Cole and then gets ready for the main event. Backstage with Robert Stone, Frankie put valet again. Why did I put Frankie Monet says you don't have to worry about Aaliyah because basically she's been taken care of, and basically she's taken over And then Mandy Rose walks by and says, "Oh, it looks like the brand is under new management," and that kind of not so subtly hinting that Mandy Rose is probably joining them, and they're gonna have like a female stable, maybe. So we'll see what happens with that. Women's Championship next week. Xia Li versus Raquel Gonzalez. I'm really not excited for that match. Like I would be if there was build, but it's just like okay. And Xia Li, like yeah, she's looking like tough as nails, but like, eh. Like I just don't get. It just came out of nowhere, so I'm not really that excited. And we're also apparently getting Strong versus Bobby Fish next week, Roderick Strong. So yeah, those are two matches that were set up. Now we get Gargano versus Cross. Cross. I really think Cross's entrance is way too much. Like it's black and white, and it's the lip syncing from Scarlet and the fog and the lighting, and it's just like it just bothers me how long and dragged out it is. Like it's I get that it's entertainment, but I just feel like they hide behind it. Like they do all that to get him over, and he's not over. At least with me. Cross starts out strong. He just like Gargano's trying to get little hits in, but he's no selling, and he's fighting off everything, and he's dominating. He goes to the outside. Joe's like straight up yelling at them to get in the ring. Gargano gets chokeslammed onto the table, and that looked like it hurt. So he gets that double chokeslam, that like Great Khali used to do. So that two-handed chokeslam, and then he hits the corner of the table. He doesn't even like go on the table. He hits the corner of the table. I don't know if that was planned or just mishandled. Like I don't know, but like it looked like it hurt. They get back in the ring. Gargano eventually gets his offense back, locks in the Gargano escape. Cross reverses into a straight jacket, and then he gets a rope break, and then he keeps it on until about 4.99, right? So Joe literally shoves him off because he's like, hey, you have until 5. And then the Cross kind of laughs, and then they stare down in the ring, and Joe's just like, enough, right? Cross pulls off the steps because Gargano ends up rolling outside. He pulls off the steps. Joe takes his steps down, and he's like, you can't do that. Like, enough with this. Gargano ends up hitting a DDT on the outside, and then rolls him in and hits the final beat for a close 3, but yeah. So Cross ends up just hitting a forearm into a power bomb, like just battering him. Hits the power bombs, and then hits the forearm, the Saito, and then the forearm to the back of the neck. Cross ends up winning with the forearm. This gets a yes because it was a championship TV match, and it did what it needed to do. I need to stop saying that. It was good because it was, like, obviously you don't have all the time in the world when you're on TV, so you only have, 10 to 15 minutes anyway. Gargano got all his stuff in. There weren't too many times where I thought Gargano was going to win. So there wasn't anything. And Joe, he got tense with Cross a few times, but, he ended up calling it pretty straight. So it gets a yes, and then Joe and Cross trash talk. Joe goes to go outside of the ring. Cross puts him in the sleeper, or the whatever it is. They call it the straight jacket, I think. It's a sleeper. Puts him in the sleeper and puts him to sleep. And that's how the show goes off the air, with Joe being put to sleep by Cross, and Cross basically saying, hey, I'm the man here. And then afterwards, they showed it on WWE.com that Joe ended up getting the stairs, after he, woke up and recovered. He ends up getting the stairs and going backstage. So that's definitely going to lead somewhere. But I'm curious because Regal just said a few weeks ago when Joe came back that he can't wrestle. So I guess maybe it'll be unsanctioned, but also for the belt. Which, again, if it doesn't count, why is it for the belt? Then I don't know if it won't even be for the belt. Maybe Joe was just like, hey, I just want to beat you up. I could care less about the belt. But that kind of puts the championship on the wayside, which I'd rather not see. So we'll see what happens with that. Or maybe he refs it a no DQ or no holds barred match again, and he actually interferes this time around and costs him the championship. So again, I don't know where it's going to go, but it's good that I don't know where it's going to go because there's a few different ways it could go. It's not where is this going? It's ooh, where is this going? So that's it. The overall show, It's a yes. NXT rarely misses. Yeah, a couple no's, couple so's, but for the most part, overall, stories are building, they're flowing, everything. That's what I love about NXT is that not only do they have, you know, they lead somewhere consistently, but sometimes they intermingle. The Pete Dunne stuff, the Mandy Rose stuff. Like, all right, we already have established stories, but now we have different stories branching from those. It's like the timeline in Loki, like it's branching off. So um, yeah, overall show gets a yes. Definitely check it out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, as always, and share. Definitely share. Let people know I'm doing this. At Squadcast, SQWADCAST. Follow that's on Twitter, Facebook. Obviously, you're on YouTube now watching this video. So, yeah, like all these videos, comment. Let me know what you think. Civil discussion. I'm always down for discussion, but civil discussion. I should be getting Money in the Bank predictions out later today. Yes, no, maybe so's for SmackDown tomorrow. Money in the Bank, yes, no, maybe so's on Monday. Possibly my opinion Monday video as well. So definitely be on the lookout for all these videos coming out. All right. I've been Tim, and I will see you guys next time.